We unmuted? Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the regular twice monthly meeting of the Westminster Mayor and Common Council. Please note that our meetings are available and streamed live on the city's YouTube page as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. Council President Pecoraro is out of town this evening, so unfortunately you're all going to have to put up with me tonight. If you have anything that is going to make noise, cell phones or such, please go ahead and silence those devices for courtesy of everyone. And we are going to go ahead now and do the pledge and moment of silence. You will be following the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet that the council will be using are available online at the city's website. We do have an updated agenda in case anybody pulled one from last Friday. There's also information up on a chair up here if any of you guys want to follow along. You're welcome to go grab one. First order of business is we're going to consider approval of minutes from there are actually 4 sets of minutes that we're going to approve. The special mayor and common council meeting of August 15th, the mayor and common council meeting of August 22nd, the mayor and common council work session meeting of August 23rd, and the special mayor and common council meeting of August 24th. May I have a motion to approve these minutes? Second.
Mr. President.
Mr. Huff and maybe Mr. Dayhoff. I'm not 100% sure, Doug. You go ahead and sign that as you see fit. So it's motion and we have a second. Yes, Ms. Inholz.
I'm sorry, for the record, can you clarify the motion was made? Did you say by Councilmember Hoff?
I'm going to go with Huff and Dayhoff for the second,
Thank you, sir.
but I'm really not 100% sure. I'll need to pay closer attention on the next one. So is there any discussion related to the items that are on the table? If not, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor of approval signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. There are no presentations, no public hearings, and we have a number of items on the consent calendar this evening. I believe it is 5 items on the consent calendar. I'd like to have a motion for approval of the consent calendar, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Dayhoff and a second to Councilwoman Gilbert. Any comment or discussion on the consent calendar? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of approval of the consent calendar, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, and the motion is carried. Go ahead and move on to report from the mayor. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been quiet the last 2 weeks. I don't know if it's because everybody's back in school, including me, or whatnot. But on Thursday, September 1st, I had the honor to swear in a new police member of the Westminster Police Department, Officer Dominic Frank. Joined us that day and welcome once again to the Westminster Police Department. The only other thing I'd like to just note on very quickly is last week, the city administrator, Ms. Inholz, celebrated a year with the city. It sort of snuck up on me. But I just wanted to take a second to recognize her contributions to the city. We certainly wouldn't be where we are today without her leadership in the administration building, her discreet tasking on various subjects. And so her guidance over the last 12 months has certainly been paramount to our many successes across the board since her arrival. So just from myself, a heartfelt thank you. Congratulations on your 1-year anniversary and hopefully more.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. President.
Very nice. We concur, I'm sure everyone else does as well. Okay, so we will go on and take reports from standing committees. So let me get my list in front of me here. Here we go. So we'll start out with the Arts Council, Councilman Dayhuff.
Thank you, Mr. President. The 20th annual members show will be coming soon to the Arts Council. It's always a great show with lots of talent from the local community, including our mayor. The show will be from September the 19th through October the 29th. And the reception, which is always a really fun annual event, will be September the 22nd from 5 to 7. In other news from the Arts Council, the annual report came out. They always do a really nice job with the annual report. Did y'all get a copy of the annual report? I'll make sure that you get a copy. It's always done extremely well. I'll look into getting you all a copy. We have a couple of concerts coming up. I always enjoy David Kreider's work on piano, and he has a concert coming up on September the 25th. And that's the Chamber Music on the Hill, and that's in collaboration with McDaniel College. And I'm really appreciative that our new Arts Council administrator, our new Arts Council executive director is collaborating much more with the local community and with McDaniel College. Some other exciting events coming up. Check the website for more news and information, and that'll be my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhuff. Economic and Community Development Committee, Mr. Hoff.
Yes, we had a meeting on Thursday, August 25th at 3:30 p.m. We had a discussion regarding the process for new businesses that are opening up and kind of what the process is for them depending upon the use. And that was more just informative for us on council. And then we also had a discussion about a previously approved site plan where it was a conceptual site plan that might be coming back to us at some point in time because for some potential changes. And staff was just kind of getting a little bit of feedback from us regarding that. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 27th, which is a Tuesday, I believe, at 3:30 p.m. at 5 West Main. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huff. Finance Committee will have no report this evening unless Ms. Imhoff, you have anything you needed to share. Okay. Public Safety Committee, that will be me. I do have some items that I wanted to go over as my document opens up here on my slow laptop. Westminster Police Department detectives have charged 2 individuals in a burglary of the city of Westminster Family Fitness Center and multiple malicious destructions of property charges stemming from the slashing of vehicle tires. Both individuals are in custody in Pennsylvania. The department will release more information on the arrests, charges, and bonds following their extradition to Maryland later next week. So wonderful work from the police department finally getting those guys. They've known who they were for some time, but it looks like we're finally going to be able to get a little justice for the damage done to your facility, as well as some folks' cars as well. Westminster Police Department secured a grant from the Maryland Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention in the amount of $148,395 to fund the unfunded mandates that the state put on us regarding body-worn camera programs that will be in place by 2005 for all uniformed police officers. And frankly, we were far out in front of most of the rest of the state when it comes to that. And the grant funding will bring us enough body cameras where we'll be set really for the next 5 years when it comes to body-worn cameras. It's also going to help us pay for a contractual position. It's going to help us manage that system. It's a lot of work that goes into it, managing it and getting access to it, being able to pull things. So that grant's going to help us fund that position, at least to get it up and running, and then we'll make a determination later on whether it's something we need to continue or if that's just a temporary thing to get it up and then it'll cease after that. So that remains to be seen. Dispatcher Samantha Wilson was promoted to Communications Specialist 2, first line civilian supervisor position to fill that vacancy position. So that's wonderful. As the mayor just said, we had a new police officer sworn in recently, and he's completing his field training before he assumes solo patrol duties. And lastly, I just wanted to comment on an incident that took, well, actually it was an ongoing problem over at Home Depot where an individual was stealing from the Westminster and Sykesville Home Depots, probably others as well. And one of our police officers, PFC, Nikki
Chinaki.
Chinaki, thank you. PFC Chinaki was contacted by the Home Depot corporate office investigator related to some of these thefts, and he did a absolutely outstanding job doggedly going after this individual that was consistently stealing over the course of months, and ultimately brought this individual to justice for Home Depot, and he's to be commended. There was multiple agencies involved because it was happening in numerous places and even up in Pennsylvania. And the corporate officer, D'Angelo from Home Depot, the corporate security guy from Home Depot, said that his efforts, PFC Chinaki's efforts, probably saved Home Depot about $100,000 in loss by finding this guy and getting him arrested. So that's not chump change for the organization like that. So he's to be commended on a job very well done. So Captain, if you would please pass that on, that we're all very appreciative of the work that you did. That's the end of my report. And we'll move right on to the public work report. I promise this will not be years long. Crosswalks are now finalized, including the sidewalk radius. Clock tower construction is out to bid. The bid's due at the end of the month, and we are nearing the end of last year's I&I contract. So in case anyone doesn't know, I&I is the inflow and infiltration. Am I saying that right? Yes. Which finds water leaking into our sewer lines that should not be leaking into the sewer lines with rain and things like that. And it has saved us a tremendous amount of volume at our wastewater treatment facility. And it's been a really great project, really successful, beyond, I think, even our expectations. So the money that we spend on that is money very well spent. Okay, we'll go ahead and continue. And see if we'll close my agenda. Thank you. Oh, I am so sorry. Did I skip personnel? Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys keeping me straight. I just didn't want Councilwoman Gilbert to have an opportunity to talk this evening. Councilwoman Gilbert, I apologize.
It's time for short comment anyway, but that's okay. I just want to, for personnel, continue to make people aware of the numerous positions we have in Westminster City available. Other than our police department, which is currently filled, I think every position is filled in our police department. So
It is, and that was supposed to be part of my report.
still few out. We have an amazing team of folks that to join to work with, and they always say when you do what you love, it doesn't feel like you're going to work. So come on and join Westminster City. Some employment and some fun.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on to council comments. So does anyone know? I am just a mess tonight. We are not done. Recreation and Parks, Mr. Dayhoff, I apologize.
I will defer to our mountain bike specialist for a thorough presentation about her appreciation of trees in their native habitat. Later, Fall Fest is coming up, but I will allow Ms. Gruber to have the spotlight. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. The Technology Report Committee meeting this evening, Mr. Pepper is not here, so now we'll move on to council comments. So, Mr. Dayhoff.
No report this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilwoman Gilbert.
I just have a few things. I wanted to thank the Westminster Municipal Band for another wonderful tradition of a concert at Belgrove Square. That was August 28th. It was very delightful. The park was full of people, everything from children to pups to adults. It was just a wonderful event. Also wanted to say thank you to the organizers of the Bourbon, Bluegrass, and Bocce fundraiser from the Historical Society. I had a wonderful time last night. Got to play some bocce in a somewhat shortened bocce court, but hey, it was still bocce and it was fun. Again, it was well attended. There was lots of people there. So it was a really nice event. Outside of that, I believe that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Hoff.
I also enjoyed the Belgrove Square concert. That was a lot of fun, and it was a beautiful night. The one other thing I wanted to mention, I just wanted to kind of commend staff again for, you made reference to basically the 150,000 that we received for the body worn cameras, and the position, to help manage all that. But I know behind the scenes that over the past year or so, we have done, between us as council and especially staff, trying to find other sources of funding, how important that is for us, because every source of funding we find allows us to do more with less tax dollars, of city tax dollars. So I again commend the staff for that, because, great job. Thank you.
All right. My comment would be two things. One, I'd like to echo the mayor's comments on congratulating Ms. Imhoff on her first year. She has been everything that we had hoped she would be. Sorry? Yeah, lightning in the bottle, right? Yeah, that's a very good point. So Mayor reminded me that we talked about, and I think I'm the one who said it, but I believe I am. And we were in the interview process with Ms. Imhoff that I said, as we were kind of discussing the candidates, I think we might have caught lightning in the bottle here with her, and I'm now 100% sure that we did. She has, I think, exceeded all of our expectations in the job that she is doing. We are incredibly lucky. And I'm thankful because it makes all of our jobs a lot easier. We've got a really good city administrator. And when I say all, I mean us here at the table, our senior staff who relies on her, and of course, most importantly, the citizens who probably don't even know it because your job is not really in the limelight. But you have just been amazing this past year, and I hope we have a number of good years ahead of us with you at the helm. Secondly, I also wanted to talk briefly about what Ms. Gilbert reminded me of. We are completely fully staffed in our police department, which is rare. That doesn't happen often, but we are at full staff right now. And I think that speaks a lot towards the leadership within the department. That can't happen when you've got very poor leadership, having a full staff like that. So they're to be commended for a job well done. And given everything that's going on in law enforcement these days, that's a tough row to hoe right there in terms of getting that fully staffed or even partially staffed. Many departments are operating at 20-30% below full staffing, and we're very fortunate where that's not the case here. So I just wanted to compliment the police department, the senior leadership in the police department, of course, again, Ms. Imhoff, and all the department heads to help make that happen, because it's not a one-man show getting that police department fully staffed like that. Everybody in this room that's sitting around these side tables plays a big role in that. So thank you. That's my only comment. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to bids. Our first and only bid is the award of contract for 45 West Main Street and 91 West Main Street roof upgrade. So Ms. Imhoff, do you want to talk a little bit about that, or you want to pass that off to a staff member, fill us in just a little on it?
Our Deputy Public Works Director, John Dick, is prepared to present to the council for this item.
The current capital project funds including funding for roof upgrades at 45 and 91 West Main Street, referred to as the City Administration Building in Carroll Heights. The project was advertised on August 2nd, 2022 on EMA, with a printed name due dates of August 12th, 2022 and August 25, 2022 respectively. 5 bids were received, with the lowest being from Northeast Contracting Corporation. There was a summary of the 5 bids. Northeast Contracting Corporation, $218,281.00. Donald B. Smith, $238,480.00. Dynamic General Contracting, LLC, $262,000.00. D. Willer Roofing, $347,000 even. Vertex Roofing Contractors, Inc., $458,983.00. The city staff has reviewed and evaluated the references and proposals from Northeast Contracting Corporation in the total amount of $218,281 and finds it to be acceptable with regards to the city needs. The FY23 budget for this project is $235,000. Staff recommends that the mayor and common council accept the bid of Northeast Contracting Corporation of Oregon, Virginia in the amount of $218,280.
Thank you, Mr. Dick. We can have a motion to approve the bid to Northeast Contracting Corporation.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, Mr. Dayhoff with the motion and Mr. Huff with the second. Now that it's on the table, is there any discussion related to this bid?
Mr. President.
Mr. Huff?
Mr. Dick, I just have a question or two, just to kind of clarify. So, having reviewed this a little bit, this is not a typical rubber roof. You know, at first, when I was looking at the background material, I thought to myself, this was a typical kind of black rubber roof re-roofing job. But just for all of our benefits, describe, my understanding is this is something that's slightly more durable, it's white, I think it has some sort of insulation component, it should be more energy efficient. Could you just kind of briefly address that for our benefits so that we know on council?
Yeah, so you generally hit the major things on the head there by saying all that. Yeah, so it's weight, so it helps with the energy efficiency. It typically comes with a 20-year, 30-year warranties on the roof themselves. It's the same system, I believe, as what we have at the city now that lasted 30 years at the 45. Thank you, back. So it's just a better than the black rubber that you're referring to that's typically used.
Oh, is it the roof that we're putting on is the type of roof that is at the current city
Yes, it is.
admin building?
Yep.
It's just that it's at the end of its useful life at
Yes.
this point in time.
Yep.
Okay, I noticed on the aerial what it was like, so, okay. Okay, great. I think that's awesome. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Good. Anyone else have anything? If not, we'll go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor of awarding the contract to Northeast, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Nays? The ayes have it, and you have your $218,000, Mr. Dick.
Thank you.
Those roofs done. Okay. No ordinances and resolutions. I don't believe we have any unfinished business. Unless there's something I'm not aware of. And we have, I believe, 3 items of new business. First item is waiver of procurement process to award contract to Duperon Corporation for the bar screen project. Ms. Immels.
Thank you, sir. At the water reclamation facility, the bar screen is responsible for removing debris about 1/4 of an inch in size. This protects downstream equipment from clogging by removing large debris such as grease balls, flushable wipes, etc. Pretty important piece of equipment. The washer compactor then rinses fecal matter from the debris and compacts the debris to save dumpster space and lower costs of removal. The current bar screen compactor at the water reclamation facility is over 25 years old and rehabilitation has only occurred once. The equipment is past its expected lifespan and is demonstrating wear in non-replacement items. The water reclamation facility was tasked with finding a suitable replacement for the bar screen and compactor. This search included several vendors such as Parkson, Lakeside, and DePeron, all with long corporate histories. Budgeting pricing was very similar, within 5%. During the design of the current ENR solids handling project, the engineering firm of GHD and city staff conducted extensive research into current different screen and compactor types, including field inspections and interviews with actual operators. DePeron became the clear choice. DePeron is the only manufacturer with over 25 years of experience manufacturing and installing bar screens with an articulating rake design. There are over 1,800 successful applications in the US and over 90 applications just in the surrounding area. The new county-funded septic facility improvements include a DePeron flex rake and washer compactor similar to this request. Additionally, the county has leased a DePeron screen for over 2 years during the construction project to screen incoming septic. City staff have had the opportunity to witness its performance firsthand, perform firsthand successfully under incredibly harsh conditions. The Dupeyron washer compactor has similar resilience to the bar screen and is the only compactor with a patented dual auger design. As a package, the two units are designed to work together from a single control panel. The other manufacturers have only recently begun to design this type of screen and are directly copies from the Dupeyron's original patent, which has since expired. As such, there are limited installation references for the equipment and no references with more than 5 years experience. The fiscal year 23 CIP budget for this project is $292,000. The equipment will cost $253,000, and the remainder of the budget, $39,000, will be used to install the equipment and for construction of a metal building to enclose the equipment from the elements and ensure maximum lifespan. Staff recommends that the mayor and common council authorize an award of contract and a waiver of the procurement process with Dupeyron Corporation for the bar screen and washer compactor in the amount of $253,000.
Thank you, Ms. Ingles. I appreciate you giving us the et cetera and not the full list of everything it captures, because it's quite gross. We can go ahead and get a motion to the waiver of the procurement process for this bar screen.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Dayhoff and a second by Ms. Gilbert. Is there any discussion related to this? Yeah, Madam Mayor.
I just want to clarify, when I look through the packet, and again, when I look at this, the bar screen, we're not simply just purchasing the bar screen. We're also purchasing the flexi rake and the compactor, is that correct?
No compact washer, yes, those come together as one piece.
Okay, so because in my mind initially, we're not only replacing that current bar screen that we have, but we're basically rebuilding that area. Okay, perfect. No, I just wanted to clarify. Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor, anyone else?
Mr. President,
Mr. Dayhoff.
I thought I read it. Who's gonna build the building?
We will go probably to the market to find that if it's over
Okay.
25,000, if it's under 25, it's essentially a pole barn that will be installed.
Correct, yes, ma'am. Who will install the equipment?
Who will install the equipment? I can't remember the answer.
So depending on when it actually arrives, because of, we all know the world is upside down right now. If we're lucky enough to order it tomorrow, we may get it by spring. And that's anybody, right? So it possibly could be HRI. If not, we'll get somebody else. Right, we may possibly do that too. So we'll hunt around, we'll get it done.
HRI is our current contractor for the ENR project.
It would be an extra work. Or it's just not.
It will likely be under 25,000, so.
Okay, good. Good. I'm good, Mr. President. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we'll go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor of awarding this waiver to the procurement process to allow us to go forward with the Dupeyron Corporation screen project signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next is the approval of change order number 13 with GHD in the amount of $360,000 for construction phase engineering services for the Westminster ENR project.
Thank you, sir. The original ENR project scope with GHD for engineering outlined a substantial completion date of 6/26/22 and a final completion date of 9/24/22. Unfortunately, the contractor HRI has delayed the project significantly. As of HRI's latest schedule update, the anticipated substantial completion date is 4/2/23 with an anticipated final completion date of 7/24/23. The city has exhausted funds in the contract with GHD because of this delay from HRI. Therefore, it is necessary to adjust the contract and increase funding for additional engineering services. GHD is proposing approximately $40,000 per month for 9 months per the HRI's anticipated substantial completion date schedule. If that date is further delayed, the city may need to consider another change order. Funds have been exceeded for this project. Staff will prepare a budget amendment for council review in October to reallocate funds, likely from the sewer fund reserves. Staff recommends that the mayor and common council approve change order 13 with GHD in the amount of $360,000 for additional construction phase engineering services for the Westminster ENR project.
Okay. If we can go ahead and get a motion, get this on the floor, then I'm sure we'll have a
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, so moved by Councilman Dayhoff, seconded by Councilman Huff.
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Mr. Dayhoff.
So is MDE gonna cover 53% of these?
So MDE will not, these are considered soft costs, so these are the city's responsibility, and this particular change order 13, is solely for engineering. So they're serving as the city's engineer when problems arise, as they have been along the way. We sometimes need to go back and re-engineer something or come do some problem solving. This is what that contract's gonna allow us to do. MDE will not cover these costs.
Mr. President.
And we have it in reserves.
We do.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Huff.
Just so, Mr. Holmes, just so I understand, is the 40,000 a month like a bucket and potentially we don't use that, or is that like a flat fee? Or can you kind of explain,
Yes.
how that works a little bit?
The original contract was more of a lump sum contract where we anticipated a certain number of hours. We're now past the original contract. So these hours are based on an hourly rate that the contractor GHD, our contractor, has been performing in the past. So they anticipate they will need to continue to perform at that same rate. They've generally worked this many hours. The hourly rate of that is equivalent to about 40,000 a month. If for some reason everything goes swimmingly and there's nothing to engineer, then they will spend less than 40,000. So this is it's not a not to exceed, but that's that kind of concept of they're estimating about 40,000 a month.
So we could be less than that, we could be right at that mark, or we could even be potentially a little bit more if things go really out of whack, but we're hoping that's not the case.
We could be, and if we are on schedule for the new substantial completion date, you can imagine as we near it, we'll need less engineering because we're coming to the finish line. So if HRI stays on schedule, then we will not need to expend this entire amount. If that date is delayed, then we will likely need to come forward with a new change order to address whatever the new date is.
Understand, thank you.
Mr. President, may I ask a follow-up question?
Go ahead.
I'll ask it. Is HRI going to indemnify us for any of this expense?
There are provisions in the contract with HRI.
That's what I remember.
There are liquidated damages
Yeah.
in
that's
that
what I remember.
contract that may be
We're gonna
appropriate
take a good look at that. I know.
pursue. And there may be other remedies depending on the outcome, and perhaps that's a discussion for a different venue.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. I asked the question. Okay. Questions on record. Thank you.
Okay, I have one or two things that I wanted to kind of touch on. Yeah, I don't want to jump ahead on our next item, because the next item, of course, is the overall management oversight. I guess where I'm confused is the project, as far as what the project is, hasn't changed because they're behind. So I don't understand why we're spending, I get the next item. I don't understand this item at all. It's engineered. The project hasn't changed in its scope or size, as far as I know, just because it's delayed. Or maybe I'm missing something and now it's changed because it's delayed. The engineering has to change, the designs, the drawings, all those things are now going to be different because it's gone slower.
It's a very good question. And under normal circumstances, you would do the engineering first, and then you get the contractor, and the contractor has the plans and the specs, and they just build it, and that's the end of the story. That has not been the case in this project. I'll give an example. The contractor installed a ceiling that was made out of concrete, and about a bowling ball size of it fell out. So then we're in the problem solving phase of how did that happen? What happened? What needs to be done to fix it? So it's this problem solving phase of something came up that now we need to figure out what to do about it, that we're using this engineering for. And if that's not a great example, we can give 10 other examples, but it's more engineering related to problem solving that we're now trying to fix. So maybe it wasn't done properly, but at that point, it doesn't matter. We got to figure out the right thing to do. In some cases, it was done properly, but something else happened that was maybe unexpected. And now we have to go back and do a little engineering to fix that problem. That's what this is for.
So GHD,
Yes.
they have been on site every day monitoring the work that HRI has been doing.
Yes.
But now we're gonna come back and pay them between these two items, another $1 million+ dollars. And I guess my concern is, we're saying HRI is behind, they've caused the delays, but your example is a great example of, well, if we're paying GHD all this money to oversee this project and act as our, what's the term I'm looking for, the owner's rep.
Construction manager.
Yeah, well, and even the owner's rep, right? I'm not sure they did a great job. If they let them put this ceiling up, that's now got a problem, I'm sure HRI has some culpability in that, but I'm not confident in GHD either, that they've done an appropriate job overseeing this project, because here we are staring down the barrel of $1 million+ dollars in change orders. And I realize this is a very expensive project, and percentages, that's not a giant percentage of change. And I know these things always have these types of things associated with them, but I'm just concerned that we're paying them for all this extra engineering and oversight. How much of this was caused by them not doing things they should be doing, and not just HRI? I know you can't answer that question. That's a rhetorical statement more than a question at all. So I just want to get it on the record that I'm not happy at all about this. And I'm not even that thrilled about paying them what they're asking for, because I think they ought to be overseeing some of this and doing some of these things at least a reduced rate at this point, because I'd be willing to bet if we brought in a third party, they would find issues with their oversight of this project. And it isn't all just HRI. And if it is HRI, they should have been blowing the whistle a long time ago. This has been going on for years now. And they should have been bringing it to our, again, I know I'm sounding like I'm preaching, but it's just, this is a lot of money we don't have in the budget for this project, and money we're not going to back from the state. So ultimately, this is going to come out of, thankfully, for reserve funds that we built for emergencies. But I would like you and staff and Melissa to really take a very hard look at what our recourse is to go back and say, this is not really completely acceptable. I'm not saying we're not going to vote on it tonight, because I'm going to call the question and we will have a vote. And I don't know how that's going to go. And of course, I'm not even going to vote because I only vote without a tie as president. But I just want to go on the record and to let them know that this is not totally okay. For me, I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah, I will pass that along to them. I think I certainly can understand that perspective.
And I'm not.
I think it's unfair to say that they haven't warned us. We meet weekly as a group to discuss the work that will happen going forward. But as you know, you employ people, you can tell people to do things a certain way so many times, and then it happens or it doesn't happen. We also meet monthly to go over progress reports. So are there things we could have been doing better all along? Everybody involved, certainly. And I absolutely will carry forward your concerns to GHD. But they have been a partner with us in this project, and staff is still confident in their ability to do that.
Well, that means a lot.
Yeah.
Coming from you especially. So
Mr. President.
go ahead, Mr. Pop.
So my comment here is, this is obviously a massive construction project, and I've dealt with construction projects before. Nothing in the That's, but we're in a situation where we're kind of all the way down in the situation, like we don't have a good exit ramp. So here's the deal, in my humble opinion. We're here. We got to get this project done. I totally agree that after we get this project done, I'm sure staff and our legal counsel will be looking through things. And I've had to deal with that in the commercial arena at times, is eventually someone might hear from somebody. But I don't think we're at that point right now, because the problem is for us to kind of jump ship or do something different at this point is actually going to be more costly than just moving forward with where we are. I don't like where we are. It's not good, but we are where we are and we just need to move forward. And then after we get through this, we need to kind of relook at everything and figure out what options we might have. And I think staff and our legal counsel is attuned to that idea. So with that said, I don't feel like I have a choice to vote no on this. I don't. So it is what it is. I don't like it, but it is what it is. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hub. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I just have a couple questions, I guess, and I'm probably am the one person up here who I have no idea about large amounts of construction to this degree at all. But I find it really interesting that now in September, we have been updated to the point that the project is going to be almost finished a year later. Like, we weren't given that information 6 months ago? Or were we, and I have totally forgotten it, or?
We were, yeah.
We were, okay,
Yeah.
so that's on me being
We
forgotten
haven't-
that it's gonna be delayed to that degree and costing us this much.
So the project has not even met milestone 1 yet, and was supposed to have been at substantial completion in July.
Right.
So it is significantly delayed. This is one of those projects that it's dark until, then you realize, oh, we're almost at the end. So things could pick up speed a little bit, but right now we're at an April date.
So what happened, I mean, I'm kind of like Mr. Huff, we're kind of at the point where we're gonna have to say yes, because otherwise what happens? The project stops, well, then that's not a good idea. Obviously, that's gonna cost us more, but what happens if, say, they come back to us and say, oh, golly gee, it's gonna be 2024 upon completion? Is there a plan? Is that even thought of yet?
I don't think it'll be 2024. I know you're just throwing that
I'm
out
just
there.
throwing
as
a
a-
number out, yes.
The plan is put pressure on the contractor HRI to finish the job. It's possible that the contractor won't finish to substantial completion in April. So that could be another 6 months. It could be the fall of 2023. Right now, the contractor is telling us April, so that's the date we're working off of. It could be some date behind that. And as I mentioned, we meet weekly. The city, GHD, and the contractor HRI, and a county. MDE's been involved in lots of the conversation. We meet quarterly. I've sat in on some of these meetings. We've had recent change in HRI's project manager for the project that happened over the summer. That has helped. I don't unfortunately have any, we're still not at milestone 1 yet, but we have better cooperation. There seems to be a little bit better management of the project. So
I just feel like, and now you said better management of the project, I feel like it's their fault and they should be covering this cost.
we do as well, and the contract outlines some ways that we can do that. It's our priority right now to get the project finished, which is, I'm not trying to be cagey here, but our goal number 1 is to finish the project. Goal number 2, after that's done, is to figure out how we're able to compensate the reserves that we've had to expend in order to to get the coverage we need from our representatives to make sure that the project's really gonna be done properly. Yeah. And you're right to have these questions. This isn't how it should have happened. And it sounds outrageous because it is, in my mind. But HRI is still our partner, our contracting partner. They've been doing a lot to try to right the ship and get back on track. They're very eager to finish this project and have a good product. It's a big project with a lot of moving pieces. And I can't believe where we are.
And I only have one more follow-up question, only because you made me kind of shake a little bit when you said there was a big block of concrete that fell. Like, is there a concern that obviously Mr. Kavachi had mentioned, you know, the oversight, a block of concrete falling off the ceiling sounds like a big concern. Are they actually doing their job? Like, is there a concern that not only have they delayed the project, but maybe they aren't doing their job? And I hate
Yeah.
to say that here, but
I think that was a concern and has been a concern for a while. We now have different management at HRI, as I mentioned. I think that's helping. We haven't had, I mean, I think that's working, that's helping. They have also had some unbelievably bad luck in gen as well, but I think there's been some mismanagement at the supervisory level. So.
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Mr.
Just,
Cook.
just for clarity, but part of the job of
PhD.
yes, is to, when something like that happens, is to make sure that it's corrected properly. And I remember being on my plant tour last year. And I know there was some discussion about a floor that wasn't poured right, and the contractor was forced to pull it up and redo it. And, you know, it would be nice to think that, oh, well, you know, we don't need to hire a specialist to kind of oversee all of this, but the reality is the city of Westminster doesn't build a giant new plant on a regular basis, so we need this expertise here to be able to oversee it, to make sure that we do end up with a product at the end, no matter the heartache that we've had getting through the process, that is a good product. And again, you know, when we get to the end of this and get to the other side, then we can regroup as staff and as council and legal counsel and decide what to do from there, because we don't need to make those decisions right now. And I'm sure that, you know, between the law and how the contract is written, normally you have a certain period of time to figure out how you want to address that. So often I'm in situations where, you know, again, you have to let things play out to determine what avenue you take when you get there. So anyway, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
I just want to add in here a little bit at the end that I certainly understand the situation, right? We're not particularly happy that we have to spend this money. I think, you know, we're sort of caught between a rock and a hard place, right? As far as moving this project forward. So, you know, while we're not happy about it, I think, you know, I hear, you know, the members of the council, of course, you know, our options are limited in this respect. I do want to say thank you though for mentioning that with the new management, that they seem to be a better partner in this, and that they have been partners all along, because of course this was the bid that was approved, you know, when the initial construction of the ENR plant was approved as well. And I hope that remains, I'll remain optimistic for next year, so we can move on to some other exciting things and finally put this behind us. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Dayhouse?
I served on the Bay Restoration Fund Committee at the state level, and I helped write the legislation. GHD maintains my confidence, but I think some of the conversation that we're having might be better suited for another time, another venue down the road. I've asked for some updates on progress of the project before, and I guess I was asking for a reason. Maybe we could look forward to having a meeting. We could discuss the project a little bit thoroughly under other circumstances. I think GHD maintains my confidence. I'm not sure. I think the alternative would be much more expensive than GHD. They're familiar with the project. And I think there might be some remedies down the road and take a look at that.
Anybody else have any other comment? Seeing no other comments, we'll go ahead and call the question. All those in favor of approving the change order number 13 for $360,000 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it, motion is carried. Next, we have the approval of change order number 2 for GHD in the amount of $765,000 for the construction management, inspection, and testing services of the ENR project. Simples.
The original ENR project scope with GHD for for construction management outlined a substantial completion date of 6/26/22 and a final completion date of 9/24/22. Unfortunately, the contractor HRI has delayed the project significantly. The latest schedule, according to HRI, has an anticipated substantial completion date of 4/2/23 with an anticipated final completion date of 7/24/23. The city has exhausted funds in the contract with GHD because of this delay with HRI. Therefore, it is necessary to adjust the contract and increase funding for additional construction management, inspection, and testing services. GHD is proposing approximately $85,000 per month for 9 months per the HRI's anticipated substantial completion date. If that date is further delayed, the city may need to consider another change order. Part of this cost includes 2 full-time inspectors. Full-time? Funds have been exceeded for this project. Staff will prepare a budget amendment for council review in October to reallocate funds likely from the sewer fund reserves. Additionally, staff recommends that the mayor and council approve change order 2 with GHD in the amount of $765,000 for additional construction management, inspection, and testing services for the Westminster ENR project.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Impulse. Can we go ahead and get a motion to address this?
Reluctantly.
Councilman Dayhoff is making the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Huff, with the second. Okay, or do we have some discussion? I'd like to be heard on this.
Mr. President,
Mr. Huff.
is this a similar in nature as far as creating a bucket and that we're only using it as we need to use it and is that what's happening here, Ms. Imhoff?
It is, and similarly, once we round the end of the project, we'll be starting to decrease the amount of inspections that will be going on. So this is a contract that we will likely be not using the whole amount if the dates stay the same.
Understand. Okay, I just wanted clarity on that. Thank you.
Mary James?
No, I'm sorry, Mr.
Anyone else want to be heard? Ms. Impulse, one thing you mentioned, and I actually neglected to bring this up on a previous item we've already approved, but it kind of cuts with both. So these aren't budgeted items. We are going to have to do a budget amendment, but I think one of the things we need to keep in mind in terms of where we're pulling this from. These projects are funded to benefit not just city taxpayers, but they benefit a significant amount of folks that live outside of the city, use the water and sewer system. So I think it's important as we move forward with that funding is spread across the entirety of the sewer fund, and we avoid dipping into general and or reserve funds that fall outside of the water funds, including ARPA. My preference would be that we don't touch the ARPA funds because those ARPA funds were for the citizens of Westminster, not the non-citizens who use our water system, if possible. And I realize we've got to figure all that out. You guys have your work cut out in terms of making that happen, but I just wanted to get that out now at this point in the game. So
Yeah, I think I mentioned that we're looking at sewer fund reserves.
yeah.
And to answer the question that was asked before from Councilmember Dayhoff, this project is also part of the city's soft costs, so this will not be refunded in part by MDE either. These are city expenses.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no other comments or questions, we'll go ahead and call the question. All those in favor of approving change order number 2 for $765,000. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? There are no nays, so the motion is carried. Thank you very much, and really appreciate Council President Pecoraro being absent, letting me hold that, these Johnny things.
I'm sure you wanted to vote for that,
Yeah,
Mr. President.
I think he did that on purpose, so I couldn't vote against it. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to reports from our department heads. Ms. Impulse.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember, we have to your report from the fire department.
Yes, ma'am, I did. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. The calls for the month of August, EMS calls, we had 552. We had 103 fire calls. 369 of the calls were in the city limits. 236 of the calls were just outside of the city limits. Overlapping calls, which is one of my preoccupations, 52%. 52% of the calls that we received at the Westminster Station, we had to bring in Pleasant Valley, New Windsor, or Reese to help us out with the call. That looks to be my report, Ms. Impulse. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. As the mayor and the president indicated, I'm just celebrated my 1-year anniversary, and I just want to take a moment to thank the staff for their trust in me and to thank the council. I certainly have put your trust to the test a couple of times with some budgetary items that we asked you to consider. We've had some tough conversations about how to move strategic plan items forward. And I think for me, it's been a great partnership, both with the council and with the staff. But I want to recognize that took a great bit of trust on your part and a great bit of trust on the staff's part as well. So thank you for, bringing me into the community and helping me feel welcome here and, giving me some space to do the job that I think you hired me for. So thank you for that. We're going to start off tonight with the housing department. Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Council. Just want to report on a couple of things. First is to let you know that in housing, we have 281 units under lease. We have 842 people on our waiting list. I also want to report that we have, effective October 1, we'll have a new allocation of 4 new vouchers and funding in the amount of approximately $38,000 and $3,000 in special administrative funds. The rental housing license program is about where it was when I reported to you the last time. We're at 712 as of today. That's my report.
Any questions for the housing department? Ms. Brown, move on to the planning department. Mr. Debo?
On September 7th, the Historic District Commission continued its discussion on, best practices and reviewed the goals and objectives of the Historic District and the Commission as provided in the Westminster Comprehensive Plan. On October 11th, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., the City of Westminster, along with Bartlett Tree Experts, University of Maryland Extension, and Maryland Urban Community Forest Council will be holding the 27th Annual Urban and Community Forestry Workshop at McDaniel College. Anyone interested in attending should visit the City of Westminster webpage for more details and registration information. There is no on-site registration, so you must register online. As of today, there are 63 people who are registered for the workshop. This does not include the 10 registrations we provide to McDaniel College students. And again, if the mayor or council member is interested in attending, please contact Ms. Imhouse and we can get you registered. And that completes my report.
If you're interested, I'll need to know by the 20th of September.
Yes.
Please.
Thank you. October 11th. It's an all-day event from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's work sessions and then there's actual outdoor activities as well.
Any questions for planning department? as you all are aware, you're all aware, 9/11 was yesterday. There's an opportunity to thank our first responders because of that. There's always an opportunity to thank our first responders, frankly. So thank you to our first responders that are listening and in the room for your hard work, for always going in when everyone else is running. So appreciate all your hard work. And we're going to move on to police department.
Good evening. 2 items of note. I wanted to provide an update on our quick response team. About a month and a half ago, we implemented a modified quick response team. And during that implementation, we've been able to provide a team of 15 individuals to reach out to. We've had really good success with that. 6 individuals are still in contact with the team. 5 individuals, we've been able to assist them in reaching recovery. They're in treatment currently. 4 individuals we have not been able to get into contact with either by telephone or in person. We've had an additional 3 individuals who actually came to the police department seeking assistance, and we were able to find them, all 3 of those individuals, beds and treatment facilities. So in a month and a half, we've had a lot of success with that team, and we're on a partial implementation. So kudos to the team for their efforts.
Isn't that amazing? Honestly, it's amazing. Yeah, good job.
Good job. Our body-worn camera project, we did receive 9 of our initial cameras to date. All of those cameras have been put out and are being implemented and controlled. We've had 1 additional camera that we received that was for our transport van. So that has been installed and is up and running. And we still are maintaining the 4 training cameras. So currently we have 13 body-worn cameras out in patrol to date. We're waiting on an additional 4 cameras were purchased earlier this year that have not arrived. That's my
Questions for the police department? We have our new finance director with us in the audience. Do you have a report? It's okay if you don't.
I do, thank you, Inholtz. I wanted to share with everyone that the finance department is preparing for the city's upcoming fiscal 22 audit, and the auditors will be out doing field work in early October. We anticipate that the audited statements should be ready by the end of December. And I want to thank each of the directors in the departments and others and supervisors that have been helping me work through some of the audit questions, preparation questions that I've had. And then last, I'd like to thank Abby for her time spent sharing with me the financial plans for the upcoming Fall Fest. I've reviewed those and have approved those with very minor modifications. Thank you.
Any questions for the finance department? We do not have an HR report today, so we will move on to the public works department. Mr. Dick?
So we've covered most of the stuff tonight already. It's been a pretty quiet last couple of weeks. So I really don't have a report for tonight.
You've already got the bill you talked out of us.
Any questions for the public works department? All right, that brings us to a conversation about Fall Fest, which I'm going to say again, as I always do. Fall Fest involves every department. The finance department has just given you an indicator of how much each individual department is involved. So even the brand new finance director, IT is involved in making sure that we've got Wi-Fi out there. The streets department are just intimately involved in this event. I guess Mr. Brown hasn't been too involved yet, but I'm sure we'll find a way to get him in there.
Oh, yeah.
So with no further ado, Ms. Gerber, can you give us an update on the rec department and specifically Fall Fest?
Absolutely. Before we get into Fall Fest, I just want to remind Mayor and Common Council that we are just coming off of our 11-week summer day camp program, and we serve nearly 900 children this summer during those 11 weeks. So thank you for your continued support of that program. It is very important to many members of our community to have a fun, safe place for their children to spend their days. And a lot of friendships are formed. And what's really fun about our summer camp program is I've actually been here long enough that I've seen campers become counselors in training and now counselors themselves. So our program breeds our future leaders and mentors for the next group of kids coming up through. So it's a really special program. and we appreciate your continued support. So moving on to Fall Fest, we quickly have transitioned our building, which was home base for summer camp, into our volunteer check-in and our volunteer hospitality hub for the upcoming festival. It does run from September 22nd through the 25th. Steps off on Thursday night with the parade, of which I believe most of you will be joining us for, walking in the parade. Just before the parade starts, 5 minutes prior, we'll have our 1 mile Fall Fest run. And we're looking forward to some great entertainment this year. We have the Reagan Years on Friday night. So certainly will be a big night for us at Fall Fest Friday. And we worked with the streets department to build some really exciting new games for our children's area. We'll have a swine speedway, where little mechanical pigs will race each other. So, so it's really fun to, as Ms. Imhouse has indicated, to be able to use this event to work with the talents of all of the other departments and really get to know them through these very creative processes where we all think outside the box as to how we can bring this very large festival to our community, because as you've heard the number thrown out before, we likely will see close to 40,000 people over the 4 days of the festival. So we are ready and we are watching the weather and hoping for the very, very best.
50 days like today.
Yeah, please no.
Are there any questions for the Recreation Department? We learned today in the Downtown Business Association that there are some businesses that are going to stay open the Friday of Fall Fest for what they call Westminster After Dark. All of the businesses in the Winchester Exchange will be open until 11 p.m. I know this Tom's Cigar.
Okay.
David's will be open as well, and possibly run more. I heard they're still working out the details of that. So Fall Fest ends at 10 p.m. It sounds like might be a good time to go back down to Main Street, which may be open until 11. Some of those businesses down there. So,
Ms. Imhouse, could you send us a list of those businesses that will remain open when you know the final list?
we don't have that list quite yet, other than the ones I just mentioned. If we get it, we certainly will. So that's actually not a city event. It's an organic event that the businesses have come together to do, which I think is great. But we do know for sure all of the businesses in the Winchester Exchange will be open until 11 p.m.
Thank you very much.
But we'll look forward to spreading the word.
Yes, as soon as we have that, we'll let you know.
Great.
Mr. President, that concludes the department reports.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mr. Pulse. The final item on our agenda is citizen comments where we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. Comments should include commenters should include their name and address and for the record. And just to remind everyone, this is an opportunity for you to make your comments and share your thoughts. It's not an exchange with the council or mayor at this time. So if there is anyone present that would like to be heard, McNulty.
Minnie McNulty, 195 West Main Street. First, I'd like to thank our incredible street department for their hard work. I was on vacation a couple weeks ago and got a call that a sewer line on one of my properties was backing up into the yard. And I understood that they said, called the street department, they said that if it was a line to the street, which it's a great big maple tree and really he could take down. And they were there within the hour and they worked till 11 to fix it. So we were really thankful for them and they did a good job. I had a friend out there watching it and they were very, very good at it. I also got my friend Dominic Jones, and he is a local muralist. He graduated from Wintersville High School and he has moved back to Westminster with his 5 children and his wife, and he bought a house. And we're hoping to get him some mural projects, and he says he's going to paint our town, and towns with lots of murals get more tourism.
We need to paint this town.
That's good. Good report. What year did you graduate? We're not supposed to talk to you, but what year did you graduate? 7. Welcome back to the community.
I'll try, I mean, do I have to say my name? Okay. Do I have to say my name and?
Name and address.
Dominic Jones, just moved to the address of 736 Cedar Drive, Westminster, Maryland. So, moving out here, it was, I want to say this. When we got, basically the way the housing market has been really hard to find a home back out here. So, when we finally found a home back in Westminster, we was happy to move back, to family, friends and stuff. So I'm definitely thankful for that. And as I traveled throughout Pennsylvania and everywhere, and I've done murals out there, it's like, there's so much tourism now in those areas. And every time I come through here to go do workplaces, I don't see enough murals. I don't see things that bring people to the town and, with the tourism and stuff. So, it must be meant for me to be back here for some reason. And I feel as though I'm ready to do some things out here. So,
Are you connected with the Arts Council?
yes, I am part of our council.
Awesome.
A lot of that stuff. So,
Thank you for being here this evening. Welcome back to the community.
that's right.
Wonderful. Well, if that is it for citizens' comments, that is the conclusion of the meeting. Thank you very much for coming out this evening. We do have a work session that will follow this.
Yeah.